Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on another edition of Outspoken by Speak, our webinar series on marketing best practice tips. I'm really excited about today's webinar. We're going to be chatting all about your homepage for your website. So I see people still kind of trickling in here. As I like to begin all of our webinars, I would love it if y'all could say hello in the chat. Tell us where you are joining us from, your organization, and your location. So go ahead and type that in there, and we'll get started in a minute. Well, hello, Birchie. Good to see ya. Oh, we got Paraguay, Chicago, Memphis, Carolina neighbor there. Oh, we're getting all over the country covered. I love it. Florida, Kansas, Texas. Love it. All right, well, y'all keep chiming in here. Love to see so many different states all over the map. So yeah, just keep saying hi, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. So before I officially kick us off here with our content, I do want to give a few housekeeping notes. So if this is your first time joining us on one of these webinars, here's just some helpful hints in case there is any sort of tech glitch, but the audio is coming through your computer. So of course you can adjust it as you need. If for any reason your screen freezes, you should be able to just either log out of Zoom and log back in if you're using the Zoom app for this. If you are joining us just on the browser, you can just exit out and you should be able to hop right back in. No problem. We love when our chat is super engaged, so please feel free to use the chat and ask any questions that you have, and we're going to try to get to all of those at the end. Here's our agenda for today. So we're going to start with some best practice tips on how to design your homepage. And we're going to chat through just being conversion minded when working on those pages. We're going to turn it over to Shannon from Tennessee Aquarium to walk us through her homepage, which was recently redesigned. And then we're going to take some questions. And just to reiterate, we would love to take your questions. Use the Q&A widget as opposed to the chat if you can, because that makes it easy to kind of organize everything there. And I'll get to those at the end. And try to make your questions as specific as possible because we might be answering them 20 minutes after you ask it. So addressing it specifically to somebody, or instead of just saying, oh, could we talk about this again? Just make it really specific. Makes it easy on me as the moderator. All right. Well, without further ado, I am going to introduce our panel here and get us kicked off. I am going to start with Shannon. So, Shannon is with the Tennessee Aquarium and Marketing and Communications team. She serves as the marketing projects manager. She has been on since 2013, where she started as the social media specialist, and then she took on the additional role of the web content implementation. So we've worked very closely with Shannon over the years. She currently serves as the marketing projects manager, and she holds a master's degree in public administration with a concentration in nonprofit management from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And then we have Stephen. Stephen has been working in the digital marketing industry for over 15 years now, and he's been at Speak for nearly 9 years. He's worked as a designer, a developer, a project manager, and he's now the program manager of Speak's Momentum program. And I'm sure he will touch on exactly what that is later. When he isn't working, Stephen enjoys spending time with his family, and he's currently based in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So super fun. And then we have Corinne. Corinne is a senior designer on staff with Speak. She has nearly 10 years of experience creating engaging digital experiences for organizations of all sizes. She's a graduate of the University of Alabama, where she studied advertising and graphic design, and she brings a passion for combining creativity with user-centered thinking to every project. Corinne has been with Speak for almost 7 years, helping clients create websites that are both effective and easy to use. And she lives in Nashville with her family. And I'm just your host today, but I'll give you a quick background on me. I've been at Speak for 3 years as the director of agency marketing. I have both a museums and a tech background. So, as all arts and cultural professionals know, you wear a lot of hats when you work for museums. And I have worn all the hats from membership to development to education and programming and even curatorial. So I've been all over the place before I moved into the museum marketing world. And I went to Clemson. I'm a very proud Tiger. I currently live in Charleston, South Carolina with my family, and I am expecting my first baby in about 6 weeks. So really exciting. And this might be the last webinar you see me on for a little bit until I come back. All right. Oh, thank you guys. Very exciting. Little girl, can't wait. My baby shower is actually this weekend. All the pink. But enough about me. And now let's turn it over to, well, actually, I'll introduce Speak before I give the mic to Corinne. But if this is your first time joining us on one of our webinars, welcome. Hello. Thanks for being here. This is Speak at our Nashville office. So we are a full service marketing agency. We do all the things with arts and cultural organizations, but we also serve nonprofits, education, growing brands, and tourism organizations in all of the different services that you see here. So we really are kind of the full stack tech partner to the organizations we work with, in addition to traditional marketing services. All right. And today we're really excited. We are going to be talking all about how to make sure your website's homepage is effective. So, with that, now I will turn it over to Corinne.
Yes, so let's talk about some homepage best practices. Let's see. There we go. Uh-oh. Here we go. Your website is often the front door to your organization. Many visitors visit your website. That's their first interaction with your organization. It's their first impression of who you are. So a great website not only should look good, but also help people quickly find information they're looking for, understand who you are, and see what action they should take next. Mission-driven organizations have a natural marketing advantage. You've got an amazing cause, a super great exhibit space, opportunities to get involved, family experiences, special events. But studies show that 61% of users will leave your website if they struggle to find that information that they're looking for. So let's look at a few best practices that will help your users. First, mobile usability is key. Most of your website traffic is going to be coming from a mobile device. People are checking hours while they're already in their car on the way to you. They're buying tickets from the parking lot and looking up event information while they're on the go. So a successful website needs to be designed with the mobile user in mind. Some key metrics are designing for optimized smaller screens and reducing that scrolling. So we've got the example of the Tennessee Aquarium website here. And so you've got your mobile sticky nav, we like to call it. So you've got some quick links to tickets, IMAX, donate, and your menu. And then that search is very prominent. That's easy to find in case a user can't immediately find what they're looking for. They've got a search and they can easily find it there. And both of these follow you no matter what page you're on, and as you flow down the screen, which is really helpful. Next is consistency across every touch point. Your website should feel an extension of who you are. Um, you, your homepage, when a visitor comes to your homepage, they should immediately get a sense of who you are. And it should be an extension of what they will experience when they come visit you in person. We love doing on-site visits when we kick off a website. And so we do an on-site discovery, and it really helps our team find the benefit of experiencing your space the same way that one of your users will too. So some key uh, elements here are authentic photography of your actual space, consistency and branding and visual identity. So the same fonts, the same colors, really helping tie your brand together in your website, the same messaging and tone, and then mission and values woven throughout your site. Next is make planning simple. Most of your visitors are coming to your homepage to help them plan their visit, help plan their next step. So all of that information should be very easy to find. Things like hours of operation, locations and directions, closures, and updates. We love doing these alerts. We've got an example here from the Tennessee Aquarium website of an alert. So please note, it might say, we're experiencing higher traffic because school's out for summer, or we have a closure today because we have an event later tonight. Any of this pre-visit helpful information is so key to make easy to find for your users. And then keeping navigation simple and clear. Your top navigation is like your roadmap to your website. It should help users quickly understand what's available and where they should go next. And you don't want to fit too much up there. It should just be clear and concise, and easy to get to, easily accessible. That site search again, prominent calls to action, and then a sticky nav, like we talked about before, where it follows you down the page no matter where you are. And in this example, we've got 50% of Tennessee Aquarium's users are clicking on that top navigation to get to where they're going. So it's very important that we keep that navigation simple and clear. So next up, we're going to have Stephen talk about designing for conversions.
Sorry about that. I was muted. Thanks, Corinne. I'm happy to take over here to talk about the designing for conversions. Let me just change one thing. But like Corinne said, it's so important to have all of the branding, all of the messaging, everything super clear on that homepage. But we all know that it's extremely important to be pushing for conversions when we get people on that homepage. It's one thing to welcome your users and welcome your visitors and make them feel at home, but you want to make sure that once they've gotten to your, if we want to call it storefront, that they're moving in the right direction and converting where needed to make sure that they're able to follow through with what they've come to do. So we have a couple kind of main points to look through here. First and foremost is guiding your users with easy to find CTAs. It is extremely important to make sure that your users can find whatever information that they're looking for quickly. If they cannot find it quickly, they may bounce off, which is something that you don't want. And one interesting metric to kind of point to here is that within the Tennessee Aquarium banner section, 25% of the total clicks in the last 60 days actually all went to either the tickets button or the plan your visit buttons. And so it's clear that you're looking at a fourth of all the total visitors immediately clicking off to those places when they get in. Another thing that goes and coincides with what Corinne was talking about with the navigation getting 50% of those clicks when you first get on the page is that 50% of the visitors actually fell off right after the banner. So another 50% of the people didn't even get past the banner. And so it's extremely important that one, within the design, you let these CTAs be clearly visible and easy for your user to see. You don't want them to be blending with the page. You want them to be a color that's really accentuating and allowing people to see, here's a clear path. And You want to make sure that they are whatever you are trying to push, which for zoos and attractions in this example, we do often push toward the plan your visit or tickets because that's often what people are looking for. But whatever that, next step that you want your users to take, it is extremely important to keep that really visible and first and foremost right in front of people. If they don't find that, like I said, they may just realize, okay, I've gotten here, I'm not finding what I'm looking for, and they might just bounce off and go somewhere else or try to find it elsewhere. So that would be the first thing. Number two is if they are continuing through your site, which this is an extension outside of the home page, but whatever those primary conversion points are, you really want to make sure that they follow your user into the site after you get them. On this, once an example here, once again for Tennessee Aquarium, we looked at the plan your visit page because that is the second most visited page outside of the home page. And we noticed that from there, once again, the top conversion points were people clicking to get ticket information or and really people clicking to get whatever else conversion there is. So there's tickets, we have IMAX, and we have membership, which is in this section on the top right here, which is right below the banner, and it gives a clear section for people to click into right after they get onto that page. We noticed that even on mobile, around 40% of the total clicks that happened once people got to this planner visit page happened in that first section, which is kind of giving you those conversion points again. And so it's extremely clear that once people get to that page, some people aren't even scrolling past that again. It's allowing people to get to where they're trying to get. And some people who may not, let's say, click on tickets when they're on the home page might go, okay, well, I want to plan my visit and see that when they get after that. So that's something really, really important to do. You don't want to hide any of those conversion points after the main homepage. You want to make sure that it's following people. In addition to that, in whatever these secondary pages, if you want to call it that, or the next level in this navigation that users are going, it is really important, again, to make sure that it's clear and that the information is presented in a way that's easy to follow. In the case of Tennessee Aquarium, we have a sticky navigation on the bottom of that page. And so once people land on that page, they're immediately given the option to look for tickets, a daily schedule, directions, any helpful resources, and even exploring Chattanooga or the surrounding area. But we give that option immediately for people to click into and find what they're looking for. And so this goes throughout this similar thread that we were already talking about, which is making things easy to navigate, easy to find. But it is extremely important if you're trying to make conversions or lead people to make purchases or sales, to have that easy to find because you don't want people getting lost. Number three, this one's huge for a lot of our zoo and attraction spaces, really for, doesn't matter what your organization is, but events and both, paid events and current events, any news is extremely important to put first and foremost or in your homepage and make it clear for everyone to see it. We noticed that on the Tennessee Aquarium homepage, 10% of the total clicks were on the currents section, which is their current events, which is honestly a great metric because you're seeing outside of that 25% for tickets and plan your visit, the next 10%, which is one of the higher kind of metrics, was all for events. And so people are extremely interested in seeing what you have to promote. If you're not putting a large and prominent section on your homepage to promote these events, it's highly possible that people won't find them. Let's say that they're buried, let's say that they're just in the navigation or they're buried deeper in the site. You're really missing an opportunity to get people directly into those pages and get people to learn, one, what's even going on at your organization, and two, allow them to get signed up or to connect with you in the way that you're looking for. And so we always like to feature a kind of really clear, really easy to navigate current events section. But once again, Corinne touched on this earlier. This could be any type of notification, whether it be an emergency notification, whether it be news. And there are a lot of different ways that you can kind of configure this, but it's extremely important to have that kind of information on your homepage to make sure that your guests and your visitors are seeing it. Last but not least, a static homepage is the enemy to progress, or when things get complacent, it can really be detrimental to your homepage and your website in the future. Whenever we go through a full web design process, there's a temptation to get through with it because it can often be long, and it can be tedious, and it can be an extremely kind of laborious process. And we all are always super excited when we finish and we launch a website. but there's a temptation just to let it sit and not think about it after that and move away from that. Um, Whether it be user data or Google Analytic data to kind of track what people are doing, it is extremely important to watch and see how people are interacting with the website moving forward. In this case, with some of the data that we're seeing from Tennessee Aquarium, it's great in that we're seeing that a lot of what we were hoping for when we first started the process, which was to be leading people toward plan your visit, which is to be leading people toward events and ticket purchases, is showing that people are making those conversions and are moving through that funnel. And so that's a great metric to see. But there's always the possibility that no matter how much research you do beforehand, no matter what you do, you look at the website, let's say 6 months later, and you're seeing that maybe something isn't happening the way you thought it to. Maybe people are scrolling down the page, but they're not reaching a certain section. Let's say it's a featured events section. They're not getting to something that you're trying to promote. And it's really important to watch and see when you move forward to potentially make changes to a website. So you could consider changing the design, changing where sections are, making changes to the navigation to see what you might do there. And all of this is important to make sure that if there are conversion funnels that are not converting, you can edit to make things set up in a way that they will. You can also promote seasonal events. This is something that we find has really great success in that just putting, whatever is your seasonal event coming up in a more prominent featured event section. It's really important to get eyes on those. We even have some clients that will do seasonal makeovers of their home pages, really just to push and promote those things when they're happening. And there's a lot you can do within that, as well as evolving branding needs. It is important if your brand evolves, you need to make sure that your website is continuing to evolve as well. And so some of these important metrics to track are bounce rates. So that's one we already talked about with people landing on a page and seeing how quickly they bounce off if they're not finding what they're looking for. Click percentages, we've already looked at that, which is, where are people clicking on your page? How are they interacting with your page? Time spent on the page. We've got certain clients that are interested just to know how long is someone sitting and looking through information. This is especially important for, say, blogs or any kind of informational content that you're trying to get in front of people. If there's not a clear clicking conversion point, it's good to see how long they're spending and observing things on the page. Scroll depth, we already talked about that with the homepage on Tennessee Aquarium, but seeing how far people are going to see really what people are actually seeing. And also, obviously, just conversions, seeing how many people are getting to where they're actually clicking off to whatever the conversion point is. So all this is extremely important. We work with a lot of our clients through our Momentum program to do incremental changes and monitoring for websites to continue to let them evolve moving forward. And we find it has great success. So that's something just to consider as well, about your homepage and your website as a whole moving forward. But I think those are the end of my slides. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Shannon. And she's going to talk a little bit about the work she did with Corinne and I, and speak on their site and about her organization. So let me go ahead and pass that over. Okay.
Okay, let's see. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so hey, again, I'm Shannon Colbert with the Tennessee Aquarium. Thanks to our friends at Speak for having us on here today to talk a little about our homepage. Yeah, so I see some familiar organizations in the chat, but if you're not familiar with us, we are located in Chattanooga, Tennessee, right off the Tennessee River there. Both of those buildings with the similar glass peaks are us. One is our River Journey building, which um, we launched in 1992, and then followed that with our Ocean Journey building in 2005. Um, that's the one on the left there. So some of the things we're known for, we are really well known for talking about freshwater conservation. As you can guess by the name River Journey, our oldest building talks a lot about freshwater, particularly in the southeast and animals we can see in the Tennessee River, but also habitats all around the world. We do a lot of conservation work with native aquatic species in the Southeast. And we also have our IMAX theater. You can't really see it there in the picture, but it's kind of across the street from the aquarium. And we show both nature documentaries, but over the last few years, we've also kind of started showing Hollywood films as well. And that theater is kind of known for being one of the only theaters in the one of the few theaters in the country that has both film projection and IMAX with laser. Um, yeah, so just to give kind of some background on where we were before we launched our current site, we we were kind of in an interesting place because we started designing our old site in really late 2018 in a different world than we live in today. It was really pretty, but it was also hard coded. We say, which basically just means a lot of those sections we couldn't really have control over. Um, so, you can imagine when we actually launched in the summer of 2020 in the middle of COVID, obviously we needed to transform it a lot to communicate different things than we had originally planned on back when we first started designing it. So I think you'll see in a minute, but I think our biggest takeaway from that was we need more customization when it comes to even things as simple as being able, to add messages that were temporarily closed or change our hours or things like that. Because we learned really quickly that things can change, and our website needs to be able to keep up with that. So you see this in quotes here because this next section is goals that we had for our new website, and that flexible brand enhancing design was one of two goals that we actually listed in our RFP for this most recent cycle when we ended up designing with Speak this round. And again, that kind of touched on, we learned we needed to be able to customize things, update things that we never thought we might need to even touch before. But also along that same time, we had also, well, in the meantime, rolled out a new brand style. I have this photo here. If you've been to the aquarium or really even seen any of some of the graphics we're posting on social, we have this new illustrated style that features a lot of different animals you can see here at the aquarium. Our font had changed, our logo had changed slightly. So all of that kind of needed to be a part of our new website. So those were listed as things we were looking for. And then again, similar to everything Corinne said, visitor-friendly user experience. So, needed to be accessible, mobile first, search engine optimized, though we realize that is rapidly changing yet again. And comprehensive site search. Our site search was a little bit limited and really only pulled up blog stories. It didn't really pull from our main page content. So we wanted to kind of refine that a little bit. And then another thing we'd done since our previous site was we'd launched a new ticketing system that very much streamlined that process for users and had a really, really nice user experience. So we kind of, years before our ticketing system felt really clunky, but our website was great, but then after we launched the new ticketing system, it almost flipped. Man, the ticket purchase experience is really streamlined, but people are struggling to get where they need to go on the marketing side of things. So that was a flip that happened as well. And it's interesting to, again, a lot of what Corinne talked about. We had also kind of realized as we were putting our RFP together, and even before that, that we kind of needed a new approach. Before on our old site, we had thought more like, what do we want people to know about us? We're a nonprofit. We do conservation work. All of those things are important. All of those things are still stories that we're telling today on social and on our website. But we still, to all the points Corinne made, we needed to also help people get where they actually wanted to go on our site a lot more quickly. So we kind of switched from that, what do we want people to know about us, to what are people coming to our site looking for, and how can we get that to them quicker? And, Google Analytics had already told us, just like Stephen mentioned, that, most people are coming and clicking straight over to plan a visit or to purchase tickets. So we had some of that basic stuff, but we also took the time to look through questions that we were getting in our social DMs, as well as we even met with our admissions and guest services staff and said, what are some common questions that people are getting to the aquarium still needing answered, so that we were kind of knew all in all what we needed to be saying earlier in our website experience. Um, so this is just kind of a side by side. So from 2020, we actually launched in 2025, our new site, but this is a screenshot from yesterday. So it says 2026. But yeah, all the same stuff. Sticky nav is great to have. It has all those core things right there when people first get to our site. So that's helpful for people, especially when we know that user journey is very focused on tickets and now very focused on IMAX as well, because since we started showing Hollywood films, that thinking has shifted a little bit too, where before it was like, oh, you're coming to the aquarium, great. You also want to see one of the nature docs we're showing. But now someone may not be that interested in the aquarium at all, but we have the best theater experience for them to come see the newest Top Gun movie, or, we're getting ready to show Odyssey in 70 millimeter. So we wanted to make sure that if you're just there for that, you can get straight to IMAX and get those tickets as well. So just to kind of take you down, scroll down the page a little bit. Yeah, those menus, all those top menu things were decided, but the same way. What are those main reasons people are coming to the site? We did want to have conservation and donate there as well. But yeah, events and programs. Explore is all of our, what exhibits do we have? What animals can I see kind of content, as well as the quickest way to get to our blog. But one thing I wanted to point out there in that menu above the main menu is that educators button, because that is kind of a sub audience where, the main page may be about, individuals purchasing tickets. We also had heard from educators who had come here on field trips that, what struggles they were having finding those pages to start that process, to plan that field trip, to sign up. So we made sure that was a lot more front and center this time around. Oh, sorry. And then this is probably the biggest change. One question, you saw the photo of the aquarium. We are in two buildings. They're not connected. We do have sometimes people who will visit one building and not realize that there's a second building, because your ticket covers both. So you walked in an aquarium building with your ticket. So this is the second thing you see below the banner there at the top is two buildings, one ticket. And you can click into both of those sections and learn what you're going to see in River Journey, what you're going to see in Ocean Journey. So it just kind of helps us drive home that, yeah, there's two buildings. So make sure you tour both of those while you're here. Oh, sorry. But yeah, that current section, I think it was Stephen that mentioned, that's a section that should be changing quite a lot. And my screenshot changed from his screenshot because we've already updated it since then. So we did just welcome our first ever baby lemur Forest. So that's our main story right now. But we're also offering a combo ticket with Rock City, one of our tourism partners here in Chattanooga. We've got the Odyssey on deck at IMAX. So that section we get a lot of use of, and we can tell, if we put something there, people are finding it. We do have our conservation section there. If you click on that, you do go to a section that talks all about our conservation work. You can get, a deeper look into all the things we're doing and learn more about that as well. And a lot of those, are stories we're also telling on social. Again, we are still telling all of that information and telling all those stories. And then, yeah, upcoming events is really important to us too. We have more and more events as time goes on. So those are always really great to have there. And then the membership section before was more of like icons that listed out, the benefits you get in your membership. But now we have this section that we can customize again. And, if we're getting ready for our Aquascarium member event, we can change one of those photos to kids at the aquarium trick-or-treating and things like that. So that's one of to kind of touch on the updating seasonally. That's kind of one of those spaces that we definitely do, because it drives home that point too of like, a year's worth of visits to the aquarium. There's something new every season, all of that stuff. And then our footer there, that's, when you talk about needing to be customizable, like that got a lot more customizable for us this time around. We're able to manipulate a lot of that a lot easier. which has been helpful. And then I just wanted to close. This is just something fun. The day that we launched the site, we actually worked with our projectionist to throw it up on the IMAX screen. So that's us in the IMAX theater um, with the with our website on a huge IMAX screen. We actually posted these pictures on social, and that was our way of telling people to come visit our new site and enjoy it. And then that second smaller picture there, I just have to shout out that is me and also our current web admin, Natalie Kresge. She joined in 2024, right before we knew we were about to launch a new website. So she joined, learned our old system, and then got to jump right in the process of working with Speak to help design this new one and learn that one. So she's great. Shout out to Natalie. I think I saw her in the chat a little bit ago, but she's the one kind of driving the bus nowadays and keeping the site updated. So I think that's
Shannon,
it for
are
me.
you in the turtle costume?
No, I can't remember who that is. But I know that's two other team members. And then we were just there. We have another one where we're doing like a really awkward handshake on purpose. I should have maybe added that one.
Oh, but okay, Natalie was the chameleon. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is.
okay,
I bet
there we go in in the flesh or in
it's
the
been a minute.
scales.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, let's kick it over to some Q&A. But if Stephen, if you could advance our slides a little bit here. Oh, there we go. Fun little giraffe to look at while we do our Q&A. All right, so keep them coming. I've got a few questions in here, but thank you to Shannon, Corinne, and Stephen for presenting all of your homepage tips for us. That was great. I know that I learned a lot, and I'm working on our own website all the time. So I learned some things that I can take back for us. This first question I have is for Stephen. This person is wanting to know what tools are best if they want to seek out metrics like the ones that you presented today for their website.
Yeah, I can definitely speak into that. So Google Analytics is always great. That's especially for tracking where people are, moving through your site, setting up conversion tracking. That's extremely helpful and useful. And so that would, if that's kind of the base, everyone should be getting Google Analytics on their site and observing what's happening through there. But the additional level that we normally recommend here at Speak is using Microsoft Clarity. And so it's really easy to sign up. It's free. You just go and sign up, and then that will give you the kind of deeper user data, which is the heat mapping, the click percentages, they've got a lot of different data that you can see. You can watch recordings of how people are interacting with your site. And so that additional layer, we always recommend Microsoft Clarity from that, and that's what Speak uses.
Great. And those are pretty easy to set up.
Yep, you just set up an account and then normally you just get a script that you add onto the site. It's pretty straightforward. Anyone that, most backends, especially in the site range with Speak is extremely easy to get it added on there, but normally takes 5-10 minutes, then you're good to go and you can start watching thing. The biggest thing is just waiting for some of that data. If you are setting it up for the first time, you do need to wait a little bit for the data to start populate, but it's really easy to get set up.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a question for Shannon. What platform or what CMS is your website built on? And well, I mean, I guess all three of you could answer this because you know. And then
Yeah.
also, who do you use for your ticketing platform?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So our site is on WordPress. We were on WordPress before and we stayed on WordPress for this site and we love it. It was built in a way this time that again, we're able to, make our own day-to-day changes that we need to make. It was funny. I meant to kind of shout out to Stephen while I was talking earlier, but in the process where we were setting everything up and designing it and deciding what needed to go where. Every time Corinne and Stephen would show us template or page that they designed and worked on and laid out. Stephen, Stephen got so used to me saying, yeah, but are we going to be able to move that or change that if we need to, that Stephen a lot of times would just go ahead and say, and Shannon, yes, you will be able to customize it.
Oh,
So,
I was about to cut you
um,
off and say, yes, you can customize it. It's all it's all good, Shannon.
yeah, yeah. And we use Ticketer for our ticketing system to answer that question as well.
Great. Oh, here's an interesting question. So this is kind of related to the first question about metrics. So Stephen, you showed some of your data points there that you said were the best. So if you wouldn't mind flipping back to that slide real quick. The question is, what are the best data points I should use to help make the case that our website does need to be redesigned? So I'm assuming these would be your top five, but if you could elaborate on that. You're muted. You're muted.
All right, I was gonna say, yeah, that's a that's a real hard thing. There's a lot that can go into that larger question, and it's interesting. A lot of what even both Corinne and I have talked about can be kind of supported with that argument to go for a redesign. As far as the data points, it is really important to kind of think through what those larger conversion points are. So let's say it's selling tickets, or let's say it's promoting a program, or wherever it is that your users are trying to get to, I would say the first thing to observe is those conversion funnels, and really those click percentages as well. It would be looking and seeing, okay, where are people clicking? And if they're not clicking in the places that we would hope would send people to where they're needing to go, then that's an immediate sign that you're needing to restructure things and look for a new conversion or a new website, or to edit your current website. There are a lot of dimensions to that. And so really, and there's a lot of different ways, both with Google Analytics and Microsoft Clarity. You can set those endpoints to see and track, okay, like, where am I trying to get users to? And you can see if those rates are as high as you would hope for them to be. Though that would be, I would say, the biggest thing. Some of these other metrics are really important, but at the end of the day, you're just trying to make sure that people are getting where they need to and they're getting the information that they need. Um, the other question that I would ask yourself, as an organization, is also taps into what Krim's been talking about, is less something that you can track and more, is my website feeling like something that's representative of my organization? And that's something a little bit more difficult to track, but
Mhm.
but that bounce rate is an important metric that you can use there. Because it's like I said earlier, it's just like any other business, right? If the front of your business is not representative of what you feel like you are as an organization or what's inside once they get there, if they were to show up and go, well, this doesn't look right, then they might just bounce off immediately. And so it's important just to ask yourself, do you feel like it's representative of who you are, what your current branding is? And if you go through that and you realize it doesn't feel that way, then that's another additional supporting argument that you can use to go for that redesign. Um, but those would be the top things that I would really consider. But there's definitely a lot that can be added there.
That's great. Corinne, did you have anything to add there?
No, Stephen hit it all. I was going to say bounce rate, but also, yeah, what he said about if it doesn't feel like you, if it's not representing who you are, then that's the easiest one.
All right, perfect. All right, we got another one for Shannon. Could you talk more to the ticketing flip experience you had and how that helped? Any lessons learned post flip when it comes to the website? This organization is in their first week with their new POS system, and it's way easier to use than the previous one. And they're excited to see how it helps. But yeah, what was your experience like with the ticketing part of it?
Yeah, well, first, to the person who asked that question, congrats on making it through that process. We know that that's a really long process as well. Um, yeah, so like I mentioned, for the longest, our marketing site was great, and then ticketing was really clunky. I think I was on kind of the larger committee that kind of did that RFP process as well. And they counted at one point how many clicks it took to just purchase a single ticket to the aquarium, and can't remember the number, but it was absurd. And you know that site was very kind of static and really outdated looking. There wasn't a lot of like branding we could add to it and that kind of thing. So there was just a lot of issues with it. Um, and we, since we've been able to sell tickets on our new system, we have seen a shift in a larger number of or percentage of our sales are online. And so that proves to us that that experience is easier visually. We can just tell it's easier. And so it, just to have that across the board, everything feel like you're dealing with the same company or the same organization, I think really gives people a lot of trust too. Um, so yeah, and before another thing, I just actually worked with Speak to get this connected. So, but I've already learned so much. Before we couldn't even have access to our ticketing system for our Google Analytics account, so I could only report on how many people visited the site, how many people went to plan a visit, how many people, you could kind of glean from those kind of page views an effect your marketing is having. But now, actually, another person on Speak's team helped us connect. Now that tickets are, where it's easier to kind of connect those two sites and see actual sales. So now we can see deeper into a customer journey. And we're, like I say, that just happened recently, but we're already learning a lot about how people are kind of mingling between the two sites. It's really interesting. I hope that answers the question. I could talk more about that specifically.
Yeah, and I'll just add, we get questions a lot about what different ticketing systems that we, meaning Speak, work with. And the answer is we work with all of them. So whether you have Ticketure or Acme, Blackbaud, Tessitura, any single type of POS system, we work to get those integrated nicely with your marketing website. And for some of those POS systems, we actually offer advanced ticketing flows and ticket calendars that we can build on top of those. So if you have any more questions about that, please feel free to ask us because we do a lot of custom ticketing work for arts and cultural organizations. All right, I've got one more good one for you again, Shannon. So this is about your RFP process when you were looking for an agency. What exactly did you communicate in the RFP that you were looking for in an agency, and how did your particular selection process work?
Okay. Yeah, so we actually this time around wrote up an RFP document that listed out at the very top those two goals that I shared. So the flexibility along with the, being cohesive with our brand design, and then the like easier user experience. And we laid out what that meant to us. And while we were looking for that, um, we kind of shared our brand guide as well, since that was, a big piece of what we were trying to do. We also kind of gave an overview of our, we have X number of site visitors per year. Here's like some higher level demographic information on that, so here's kind of the audiences we expect or are trying to attract. Um, and I'm trying to think what else. I don't have that document right in front of me. Um, but Oh, and I think we did have a piece in there about the new ticketing system and how it needed to work really well together with that and feel really seamless. So we just really laid the case out what we were looking for, and tried to give people all the guidance we could. Um, and then sent, we had some partners and things recommend a handful of companies for us to reach out to. So we did that. Speak was one of those because of other AZA organizations that Speak works with. And we did a round of Zoom calls with different, I think we chose five, I want to say, and just let people present what they presented, as a reaction to the RFP that we'd sent over. And then we had a small group outside. It was myself and Natalie and maybe a couple other people from our team, but also people from across the aquarium. We invited husbandry to be a part of it. That's animal care people. And membership was there, admissions folks were there. So it was kind of, we wanted feedback from all teams. At the end of the day, it was very clear that it was marketing's decision who we went with, but we did want, anybody to raise any concerns or, any priorities that they wanted to make sure got addressed. And then I think we chose from there, I want to say, and then speak. We chose speak, obviously. And that's when we kind of started having them over for the site visits and things that they did just to learn more about us. So, did that answer the whole question?
Yes, I'm sure it did. But thank you. All right, we're
Yeah.
going to end on one question that is definitely applicable to everybody. So this is probably a Corinne or Steven answer specifically. How do you incorporate SEO and AEO into home pages? We're having trouble getting our website to show up first in searches. It's a good question.
Steven, that might be more you.
Yeah, I would say that the main thing is just really ensuring that you have first off on the homepage having the appropriate content that you're going to want to be crawled. So making sure that one, your heading structure, and this goes some into the kind of development, how everything's set up, but making sure that you have an appropriate heading system set up to where you have some hierarchical headers and that those headers are what are being crawled and have the appropriate content that you want to get pulled up. And so that is extremely important. Um, on the back end side of things as well, it's important to make sure that you have your meta tags set up correctly for your different pages and that you have your meta descriptions, your page titles all set up in a way that are going to be crawled well. And so there's a lot of just that kind of cleanup and content work that you want to make sure is all clean and in place. That goes a lot into what was talked about in the conversation about us talking about the user journeys and the clean navigation and the clean content on your site. But um, as much as you can have it technically set up, it really does come down to making sure that it is content that's relevant and that will be important that when it gets pulled. So that would be the big thing to kind of review is does everything look like it is set up in the way that it needs to be? And then you can get that added on the homepage. In terms of the kind of AI shifting and the AI data, there's a lot that we've been doing there. There are certain things in the code that you can add. One big shift we've been seeing, which on the homepage, I'm not sure how applicable this would be, but is actually using a lot of question and answer formats in terms of the content that you're putting in there. So for your FAQ sections, making sure that you have question and answers, whether it be an accordion or something similar. So there's a lot that can be done there as well. And if there's ever any additional questions, we've got teams that actually specialize more on that than I do. But that's the best way that I would say to start. So we'd definitely love to continue that conversation. But that would be a good starting place to kind of look through it as you're looking at your homepage and your site.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think with that, Stephen, I'll have you go to the last slide there and thank everybody for joining. So, our audience, thanks for coming and tuning in, asking great questions. Thank you to Stephen and Corinne for presenting your expertise, and a huge thank you to Shannon for coming on and sharing what worked and what didn't work, and all the exciting things when it comes to a website redesign and specifically the homepage. So I appreciate everybody being here. We do these bi-monthly, so look for our next one in August. And for all of our arts and cultural attendees that are on the webinar now, we do have a Past Play webinar coming up in July on how to make membership feel new again. So make sure you keep an eye out for that one. That'll be July 21st, I want to say, in the afternoon. So anyway, thanks again. And I saw a couple questions about the recording. Yes, you will all get a copy of the recording because you registered, and then it will live on our website in our resources section. So thanks all, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.